Up next on the Day Beer Review, we're going to be looking at Goose Island's Bourbon County brand Café de Olla Stout. This is a stout aged in bourbon barrels with coffee, cassia bark, orange peels, and panela sugar added. And it's coming in at 13.5% ABV. Check it out. Three, two, one. Hi everybody, it's Rich and welcome to the Day. 3, 2, 1. Hi everybody, it's Rich and welcome to the Day Beer Review. And today we are looking at an old one. This is Goose Island's Bourbon County brand Café de Olla Stout. And we're going all the way back to 2019, although I don't know if anybody really wants to go back down to 2019. But, you know, looking back at the beer, I have to be honest, I didn't love 2019. In fact, it was my least favorite year of Goose Island for the base stout up until 2024, because 2024 was just repulsive. Now, I'm going to check this one out. I remember liking it a great deal, but here we are 5 years later, basically, and it does say that they age in the barrel, so let's crack it and let's see. And, you know, I'm going to get a little preachy here. I was looking at the Goose Island video about this year's releases, and I have to tell you, after last year, I'm struggling whether to even try it. I've always been a fan of Goose Island, but, you know, I'm questioning the idea of them putting the base stout in 4 small 10-ounce bottles, and I want to know what that price point was, because the last time I remember this happening with those smaller bottles, it was like between $45 and $60 for a 4-pack, and that's, you know, 40 ounces of beer. And with the bottles, it's, you know, like what is it, 16.5, I think, ounces. To me, it just seems like they're going out of their way to screw up, you know, to screw their clientele, you know, by raising the price for the volume of beer you're getting. So I'm just up in the air. So, you know, I have probably 100 bottles of Goose Island stashed around here that I've been cellaring and all of that. And I have to tell you, this might be the first year in, God, about 10 years that I might just let this one go. But we'll have to see. But enough of the rant. Let's get to the beer today. This one I remember liking a great deal, especially since the rest of 2019, you know, at least the base stout was not super impressive. Now this pours a nice dark brown. A lot of times the Goose Islands pour like a jet black. This has sort of like a cinnamon type of tint to it, especially in the head, which you'll notice is sort of, it's not super carbonated, and sometimes that carbonation, like this year, is overdone, and sometimes it's just perfect. And I remember this carbonation being pretty good. Let's check the nose. And remember, you know, we're looking at a beer at this point that is almost 5 years old. Actually, this came out of the barrel on August 21st of, I believe it's, oh no, that's the drink by. It says drink by August 21. So we're a little late. All right, let's see what we got. This smells beautiful. There's a nice cinnamon to it. There's a coffee flavor, not flavor, but aroma that's there. And there's that general bourbon sweetness. Now, my biggest problem with the Goose Island stuff that came out this year was I think that it was a rye heavy year. And I am not a rye fan. I like the sweetness of bourbon. And honestly, with something named Bourbon County, I sort of expect the beer to be aged in bourbon and not rye. And I know they're sort of like two sides of a very similar coin. But, you know, it is what it is. It's a personal preference, and the rye heavy stuff doesn't do it for me. This, you can smell the sweetness, and you get that sort of deep, sort of, smoky sweetness that you get from a good bourbon. There's also a hint of chocolate. Now, I'm not getting orange, not in the nose. And I know, like, Goose Island's done orange stouts before, and they're very good, but after a few years, it seems like the orange is the first thing that sort of like falls off in the flavor. Let's see what it tastes like, because the nose is beautiful. Oh, that's really nice. First off, no alcohol burn. World apart from what we saw this year. Goes down very smooth. There's a good amount of cinnamon. In fact, I have to say, if I'm gonna layer the flavors, it layers like this. Front of the tongue is a sweetness, almost like a, you know, almost like a milky, like almost like a milk stout type of sweetness to it, which I'm assuming is the bourbon. So there's that bourbon sweetness at the beginning of it. As it goes down and further, you know, goes through the tongue, you're also getting that cinnamon sort of cacao bark that they're talking about. And I have to be honest, the cinnamon flavor on this right now is the dominant. It seems to be the strongest and most robust of all of the flavors that are in there. And as it goes down, because the cinnamon is there, I don't know if you've ever had cinnamon powder on something and, you know, it gets on your tongue and you like, it's a little chalky. There is a little bit of sort of this sounds so weird, but like a chalky aftertaste, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's sweet, it's cinnamon, it goes down extremely smooth. You would never know that this was a 13% beer. In fact, the only part of it that's even slightly, you know, not perfect would be sort of that almost like chalky feel or aftertaste. I guess it's sort of like a dryness on the back of the tongue. That being said, this beer is excellent. And here we are 5 years later, and it really has aged beautifully. You're getting almost everything that they promised. There is that sweetness. And now I have taken 2 relatively good sized sips of this, and now I'm getting just a hint of warmth in the stomach. This is beautiful. And you know, the more I drink it, the better that sort of cinnamon blends in with the rest of it. And that sort of chalkiness on the back end sort of fades away. So I think this one has aged really, really well. Now, I don't know what it's running for on the market now. And quite honestly, it's well past what they say the drink by date is. But you know, stouts do last. To give Bourbon County credit, their stouts have lasted really well in my cellaring. I mean, I do cellar them in the basement. The basement is never really above where I keep them. It's never really above 65 degrees, and my basement is thankfully very dry. So everything stays really, really, you know, well preserved, if you will. And this is one of those beers that has. Now, the more I'm drinking it and the more I'm waiting, I am getting a little bit of that warmth in the stomach, but I want to make it clear, it's a warmth. It's not a burn. It's not like, I have always felt that the stouts that I drink that are really, really exquisite and show beautiful craftsmanship are the ones that they don't necessarily hide the alcohol, but the alcohol isn't the prominent feature of this. I mean, this drinks almost like a wintry, Christmassy type of beverage that, you know, like, I know I still have a bottle of this cellared. And I have to tell you, I think this year I will open it, but I'll open it around Christmas time. Because this would be a beautiful holiday drink. Christmas, New Year's, Hanukkah, whenever. Somewhere in that neighborhood of like cheerful and jolly times, that's probably where this would go well. If you see it on the shelf, I would probably pick it up. Now, that is assuming that the shop has stored it correctly. When these things are not stored correctly, they do not last. I've gotten 2018 stouts, just the standards, and the distributor clearly did not store them correctly because they were bad. In fact, I think that I've actually put 1 or 2 of those on this channel. Now, the other thing that I had a problem with in 2019, there was a tremendous amount of sediment that built up in this, and, you know, in the 2019 stouts, but I haven't seen that here, not at all. This has stayed really, really good. You don't have to filter it. And it is a solid beer, but again, it was cellared carefully. So is this one that I would go out and get again if I saw it on a shelf? I actually would. assuming I knew the bottle shop, assuming that I knew how they stored it, then yeah, I think it was definitely worthwhile. And when I bought it back in 19, I think it was like $25 a bottle. And was it worth the $25 for the bottle? I think it was. I think it's a really, really good beer. It's well crafted. And the other thing is, it's sort of emblematic of what I think were better times and better beers coming out of Goose Island. Again, 2019 was not my favorite. So anyway, to go back from this, I think this is emblematic of a better time and a better product from Goose Island. And, you know, clearly it stood up. You know I've been sort of like slagging off on Goose Island this year, but I really, really think that last year's offerings were weak. And quite frankly, I'm dialing down how much I'm purchasing this year. And it's my opinion. You know, your taste buds might have loved last year's, mine did not. And I'm gonna see. I'm gonna wait and see this year instead of just going in and buying blindly. And you know what? If I miss some of it, whoops. You know, like it's clear that Goose Island you can't just assume anymore that they're always gonna put out these great quality products, at least in my opinion. That being said, if you can get your hands on some of the older stuff, I can guarantee you that if stored correctly, is outstanding. Now, that being said, this was a wonderful beer. I would pick it up. I hope you get to try it. All right, I'm gonna call this one and I'm gonna sit back and enjoy this beer. And I'll see you all next time on End of the Day Beer Review. Please comments below if you're not sure about the beer. If you think I'm wrong, I'd love to hear about it. And I will see you next time on End of the Day Beer Review. Cheers. Can't believe I fucking spilled. All right, I gotta do a quick clean. I also can't believe my fucking battery died again. What can you do, folks? All right. I almost left it without cleaning it just because it smelled so good. But the other problem with Goose Island is there's so much sugar in it, really, that everything it touches gets sticky. All right. So apparently, and I'll leave this part in, I put the bad battery in the camera again and the camera went out, so I had to change the battery. Oh. And then I committed the worst crime possible. I spilled a Goose Island Stout. Okay, so let me clean up this mess. In fact, let me clean up this mess and maybe just put this at the end. So if anybody's looking for something interesting, they can see it. But this went everywhere. So that's what's happening when you're your own camera person. You know, the person also narrating the video and having the beer. Okay, I'm back. I will say this, you know, as far as a beer spill goes, the bar now smells wonderful. It really does. It smells like a nice holiday cinnamon drink. So, all right, let's see, and we'll have to edit this when we get it all together. Hi everybody, it's Rich, and welcome back to End of the Day Beer Review, and I'm back in the sweatshirt, so you know it's starting to get to be fall. And apologies, I've only been putting out one video a week. I'm going to try to up it to 2 this week again, but you know, summer's over, work starts, and you got other things. And today we're going to be looking at a special one. This is Goose Island's Bourbon County brand Café de Olla Stout. This is a stout aged in bourbon barrels with coffee, cassia bark. I fucked up the whole thing. 3, 2, 1.